What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the 10-7 MMA. I'm DS, and I'm here with, you already know who I'm here with. As always, I'm here with my guy, Dino Bam Bam. What's up?
What's up, dog?
Man, I'm doing all right, you know. It's been a week, but more than anything, last weekend, we saw Sean Strickland absolutely dismantle Israel Adesanya for the middleweight belt.
Yeah.
He was ranked 5th, 6th, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You can argue whether he deserved it or not. Clearly he did. He didn't just catch him. It wasn't like a flash knockout, which obviously in this sport anybody can do. It can happen anytime. He dismantled this man. Attempted one takedown the entire fight.
Yeah. And
just beat his ass, dude. Like, caused damage. Look at his eye. Look at the bloody nose at the end of the fight. That was insane, man. Like, I couldn't believe my eyes.
I didn't think there was any way that Sean Strickland was going to win that fight. And if you held a gun up to my head and told me, Sean Strickland's going to win this fight, how's he going to win it? I would not have thought at all that he would do the Sean Strickland thing.
You would think he finally uses wrestling.
Right. Finally uses wrestling, or he catches Izzy. But no, he just did literally what Sean Strickland does. 5 rounds, follows you around, hunts you down, doesn't get hit, pokes at you, and just kind of beats your ass that way. Absolutely shocking.
And also, not only that, dude. I'm not saying Sean. I've never thought Sean Strickland was like particularly pillow fisted.
Yeah.
But he never looked like he had crazy power.
Yeah.
This fight, he was causing damage.
He was.
So crazy, dude. But before we get into all the details of what we want to talk about today and this whole video, what it's about is what is next for Sean Strickland. Because before this, we got to be honest, we made a video about what's next for Izzy, and we basically made the video assuming that Izzy would win.
Yes, we did.
And he didn't. So we're going to eat our words, and this video is going to be about what is next for the middleweight division, what's next for Sean Strickland. But before that, tell them what they should do.
You guys should definitely hit that little like button. You should definitely hit the little subscribe button. Ring the little bell. That's the sound the bell makes. You can also follow us on Instagram.
It might not make that sound.
Yeah.
Is there a sound?
I don't know, but that's what we like to pretend.
In my mind, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So hit the bell and let us know what sound it makes, guys, in the comments below. Follow us on Instagram at the107MMA. So I'm excited to talk about this. We are correcting that last video, right? So that was what was next for Izzy. Now the division belongs to Sean Strickland.
And no matter how you feel about it, you have to admit it is more exciting now.
I mean, anytime you get a new champion
after Izzy beat Pereira, what do we both? There's a reason we made that last video, right? It's like, let's be real. This is his division again, especially now with Whitaker out.
Yeah.
The crazy thing to me is like what we're going to talk about in this video. Whitaker is nowhere to be seen.
Whitaker's nowhere to be seen. We just talked about this a couple minutes ago. Whitaker's nowhere to be seen. A step below Whitaker was always Marvin Vettori, who is also challenged for the title.
Not even a thought.
2 guys that were always right there when Izzy had the belt, and they just find themselves in a terrible position at the worst imaginable time, where Robert Whitaker's not getting a title shot and Marvin Vettori's not getting a title shot. If you told me a year ago that Alex Pereira would no longer be in this division, that Izzy would no longer be champion, that it's not Khamzat Chimaev who's the champion.
And that it's not Bobby Knuckles.
And he's not fighting next for the title.
And that it's not Bobby Knuckles.
I would assume Bobby Knuckles and Marvin Vettori would be the guys fighting.
And, and if it's not, you'd be like, I don't fucking
Cannonier,
probably. Like yeah.
Brandon Allen did some crazy shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
And Brandon Allen's only been recent. Like, that he's really come on. So what we want to talk about is now we're correcting the last video. So what is really the core of the videos is what's next for the middleweight division.
Yeah.
But in this case is what's next for Sean Strickland, right? Because it's his division to lose. And there are a few options.
Right, of course.
Right? Let's talk about the most obvious option. And let's talk about the most obvious option for the reason that Dana White said. Well, first of all, let's talk about this. Dana White, that night after the fight, he said, yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense, right.
Absolutely, he said that the rematch makes sense. And then the press conference he put out after Dancing with the Stars.
Dana White's Contender Series, for those of y'all that don't know.
If you don't follow along with the podcast. Right. He said, I didn't really say, like, that's the next fight to make. I was like, that seems like that seems smart. Like,
Dana never makes fights on fight night.
That's the most bullshit fucking thought in them.
Yeah.
But so anyway, he said that, but let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dino Bam Bam? Is the next fight to make for Sean Strickland Israel Adesanya?
All right. So Israel Adesanya, I can understand why the UFC wants that. It makes a ton of sense.
I think we all can.
We've talked about this before. I think we talked about it in the Adesanya video. Israel Adesanya, if you take Conor McGregor out of the equation, he's probably the UFC's biggest star. It's him or Charles Oliveira. I get it. You want your stars in or around the belt.
You want them fucking dogs.
I don't know about all of that.
Oh.
We don't need to get into that.
Sure.
But what I'm trying to say is you want them around the title, right?
You want them at least jerking dogs off.
Maybe.
Heads high.
Is O'Malley doing that?
He's not, but O'Malley apparently can call his shots.
Right.
Whereas, like, Aljo...
Right, so that's where I wanted to get with this. Does Israel Adesanya got his rematch against Alex Pereira?
Right.
That was a rematch that was very well deserved.
And thank God that we did see that.
Because it was such a cool moment.
The best sports moment of the year.
Absolutely. The best moment in this sport for sure so
I
far
would
this
say,
year.
I would argue in any for the year.
Yeah, maybe. But anyways, Izzy was a longtime reigning champion. He got the rematch that he had earned by defending his belt so many times.
And the history.
With Alex Pereira. It made a bunch of sense.
Sure.
He gets that win.
I was down for that.
He gets that win. He doesn't defend his belt.
Were you down for that at the time?
Very down for that.
That was the fight to make.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
I think any long reigning champion. I think any long reigning champion gets that, right? So this time though, he has not defended his belt yet, and he lost it to Sean Strickland in a one-sided ass whooping. Let's call it what it is.
Ass
right?
whooping as a major minus 650 favorite.
And he won one round, and the 4 rounds he lost weren't even close. Anyways, the point is, I get it from a business perspective. Israel Adesanya probably sells the most pay-per-views of any fight you could do with Sean Strickland.
Sure.
So in that sense,
out of anybody
it.
In this conversation, that's the fight, business-wise.
Exactly.
So I understand why Dana said it.
Right. So I get that. As far as the division's concerned, I don't know that it makes too much sense. The only thought process that I have that's like going against me saying no is like, what does Israel Adesanya do? I know that we're not responsible for that. Nor is the UFC really responsible for that. But, like, what makes sense for Israel Adesanya?
I know what makes sense.
What does?
I don't want to see that fight. I don't want to see the rematch.
Okay, so what makes sense?
You tell me, do you?
Between Izzy and Strickland?
Is that the next fight to make?
I don't think it's the fight to make.
I don't think it's
but if the fight was made, I think I would pick Izzy. I know that sounds nuts.
I would pick Izzy,
I think he would adjust.
No, I would pick Izzy, too.
Anyways, I don't think it's the right fight to make. But if you do make that, Dana White, UFC, I know you're not watching, but if you do make that, and Aljamain Sterling, absolute my boy Aljo, doesn't get a rematch after being the winningest bantamweight champion of all time, shame on the UFC.
Yeah, and Sean O'Malley's already calling out Cheeto, and like it's. I know that the fight hasn't been made, but it's like he feels. It feels like he knows like that's the fight that's coming.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't think that's the fight to make. Is the Izzy rematch? I don't think so. He's 1-2 in his last 3.
Yeah.
And I know he's like, but you have to give the division some time to breathe. For me, if we're talking about Izzy, the next fight to make for Izzy is to take on the winner of Khamzat Costa.
Fine.
That's for me the next fight for Izzy. So let's put it all on the table, right? There's a few options.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got
Izzy here.
We've got the rematch.
Yeah.
Is like the most talked about thing that should happen, right?
Yeah.
Strickland versus Israel Adesanya. Then next you got Cannonier. You have to mention him because he was literally the only other guy that weighed in for this fight.
And he just
beat Sean Strickland.
And hasn't lost since.
Yeah. And
the only reason he didn't get this title shot is because he also just lost to Izzy not too long.
Yeah, and that was a fucking terrible fight.
Yeah.
And I think less what you said and more what I said. Where
sure,
like, from a business perspective.
Yeah.
It's like
it wouldn't sell.
Sure, he lost, but like the fight was fucking terrible.
Right. I also want to throw in though in another
let's just throw out the other options though before we get anything. So it's Israel rematch, Cannonier who just weighed in.
Yeah.
And then what else?
The winner of Hamza and Costa.
But then on what? Okay, yeah, Costa and Hamza, absolutely.
Yeah, and then Dricus Duplessis.
Dricus Duplessis. So those are really what the Dricus Adesanya, winner of Costa,
and Chimaev.
And is that 3 options? Is there a 4th?
There's 4, and Jared Cannonier.
And Jared Cannonier. Yeah. So there's 4 options.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
To me, I think the most deserving person is Jared Cannonier. I know that's not a fight.
So that would be the next fight to make for you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. I know it doesn't make the most sense financially or, sales-wise for the UFC. I get that. And it's not a very exciting fight. We actually just had it as a fight night main event at the end of December. It was the last fight of last year. It was a fight night main event, and now you expect us to buy it as a pay-per-view main event. So I get that. But for what it's worth,
and I get it. There is more hype now between, I get it. But
right. But for what it's worth with Jared Cannonier, he's on a He's on a 2-fight win streak. After losing to Izzy for the title, he beat Sean Strickland, and then he beat Marvin Vettori.
Yeah.
Those are two top... That's the champion and a top contender.
Right.
I apologize.
Yeah.
But he has a win over the guy, and he just weighed in as a backup. Usually when you weigh in as a backup for the UFC, you're next in line.
You are? I don't think that's the case here.
And one more thing. The reason I say it's him over Dricus is because Dana White always plays these mind games. He always plays these like little he throws this bullshit around. When he likes you, he likes you. When he wants to give you a fight, he can give you a fight. But when he wants to find a reason not to, he'll find that reason.
Yeah.
He said with Dricus du Plessis, I don't like guys that turn down fights.
That's so fucking stupid,
It's
dude.
just because now it doesn't make sense because Dricus is not that marketable. The situation with him and Izzy was very marketable because of what happened at International Fight Week.
Yeah, and that's the only reason from a business perspective that you could possibly want Dricus to be next.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the Cannonier fight from a business perspective is the least desirable.
Agreed.
Fight.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
And for that reason alone, I think that's not going to happen.
It's off the table.
And I know he was the one that... So, I just think that was I think that was almost like a consolation prize for Cannonier. Like, hey, we in for this one, but we're not fucking really taking you that seriously for this.
Yeah.
For
Come
me,
collect a paycheck.
Truly, if you're asking me what fight should be next, it's Dricus. It's the only fight to be made.
Dricus versus Sean Strickland.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
There's not that there's beef between them, but Dricus just beat my boy Bobby Knuckles and beat him decisively, finished him, fucked him up, and as much as it hurts, but how can you take that away from him?
Yeah.
I don't love Dricus, but he's a much more exciting fighter than Cannonier. Take everything else away. He just is. Plus the Izzy stuff, and then here's the thing too.
He wins. You can give Izzy a fight against him.
Thank you. Exactly.
So I get that.
Exactly.
I do want to throw in something though. With Dricus du Plessis, I get it. He just beat Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker, if you beat him, you get a title shot. That's kind of what it is. And it should be that way. That's how good Bobby Knuckles is. He's a huge Yo boy.
He's my favorite fighter.
But here's the thing. The way I see it is, how do you deny Khamzat Chimaev if he goes out and dominates Paulo Costa? And then, Dino, vice versa. What if Paulo Costa is the one to stop Khamzat Chimaev's hype train?
I think the extent of the win in that particular fight matters heavily for what we're discussing here.
Yeah.
If it's a super close fight and it's a battle and,
a war,
I still think Dricus gets it.
Okay, but if it's a one-sided
But if it's
finish,
Khamzat goes in and fucking murders Paulo Costa, mauls his ass, finishes him in the first round, or vice versa. Paulo Costa, and I think that's a close fight, personally.
Sure.
Paulo Costa body kicks the shit out of Boers, hits him with a counter left, drops his ass, finishes him in the first round.
Yeah.
Then I think they would jump Dricus. And knowing Dana, they would.
Yeah.
For sure.
100%.
So this video is not, and I don't think that's what this video is.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that's what we're discussing, really. It's not what Dana wants.
No.
We're going to talk about that. We have been.
Right.
But I just think if there's a very decisive finish, they easily jump Cannonier. They easily jump Dricus.
I agree.
So
I think it's most likely we end up either seeing Israel Adesanya or that we end up seeing the winner of Chimaev and Costa.
I still think that's gonna be a close fight, man. I don't see either of them really getting a dominant finish. Paulo Costa's just too big. We've seen Chimaev struggle with Gilbert Burns. Dude, Costa throws fucking heat, dude.
Right.
And this is the division up, and Gilbert Burns, let's be real, is a small 170. So, I mean, for me, it would have to be very one-sided for them to jump Dricus. I think it's going to be Dricus, and I think that is the fight to make.
Hey, and I'll watch. I'm definitely interested in that.
And who do you think wins that?
Man.
I have no clue.
Right. After seeing what Sean Strickland just did to Israel Adesanya, it's like I have a newfound respect for Sean Strickland.
Oh, come on. Absolutely.
I'll say this.
Oh, absolutely.
I was a very big believer in Sean Strickland about a year and a half to 2 years ago. And then for some
what
reason,
extent, though?
A very big believer.
But to what extent? Like I think we even talked about this.
always
Like
said-
he's going to be like a 5 to 7 guy.
I think he would always be in that range. My thought process was he'll always be in this range. Can he get a fight Can he win a fight versus a number 2 or number 3
I think
guy?
we've talked about this
so,
on
yes.
this fucking very podcast.
Maybe we have. I've thought maybe he can get a title shot. I never in my wildest dreams imagined him as a champion, though.
Never, dude.
I'll say this, though. He impressed the hell out of me. He supposed
And the method, like...
he is technically better than Dricus du Plessis, but Dricus has a ton of momentum. The guy knows how to win fights. I don't know who I would pick in that
They
one.
both have such weird styles.
Very weird.
If you're telling me you know who's going to win that fight, you either
You don't know. You don't
so much or you don't know shit, and most of us don't know shit.
And that's what it is. So anyways, in order, what I think is going to happen, I think the winner of Chimaev and Costa probably gets it. If not...
Over Dricus.
I think over Izzy.
And over Dricus.
Over Dricus, Cannonier, I think is last.
Okay,
However,
sorry. To end this video.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen? Give me your rank, and what do you think should happen? Give me.
So
your
that's
rank.
what I think is going to happen is it's going to be probably the
most likely.
I'll say Izzy.
Most likely Izzy.
Most likely Izzy, followed by the winner of Chimaev and Costa, followed by Dricus, followed by Jared Cannonier. However, in what I think should happen, in reality, I think Jared Cannonier should get it. He's the most deserving at this point. He has a win over the current champion, and he's on a winning streak. Hasn't lost since then. So I think, and he weighed in as the backup, so I think Cannonier deserves it most. I would then say if Hamzat were to beat Paulo Costa, I think he would deserve it more than Dricus, just due to the fact that it's Hamzat Chimaev, the way he's won fights, the way he's looked, it's unbelievable.
There's a reason he's a star beyond what he's done.
Exactly. Followed by Dricus, followed by Izzy then, probably.
Yeah. For me, what should happen, let's say what I think will happen. I think what I think will happen, Izzy rematch, winner of Paulo Costa versus Hamzat Chimaev, Izzy...
Cannonier.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dricus.
Cannonier. So we think the same thing is going to happen.
Oh, did you say the same thing?
What do you think?
What should happen, in my opinion, Dricus, number 1. Number 2, winner of Costa Chimaev.
Yeah.
Number 3, Cannonier. Number 4, Izzy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you think Izzy's the least deserving?
I think he's the least deserving.
And I
he's
get it.
1 and 2 in his last 3. Cannonier has been there. He's not exciting. We know that. Dricus is by far the most deserving. He just beat Bobby Knuckles. Hamzat and Costa is such a big fight.
It's weird to me that you say that, though, because Sean Strickland is now the champion of this division.
Yeah, I know.
It's his division. He's the champion.
Yeah.
And there's a guy here that just beat him.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he get the chance at the belt?
He's just not.
It's just because he's not marketable.
Yeah,
it's because he's 38 years old and he's
and
like
it was a close fight. He beat him barely.
It doesn't matter.
But it was such a close fight.
Barely.
Many people think barely. I'm legally blind. But there's so many people that think that Strickland won that.
Facts.
So I guess that's part of it.
Facts.
So
yeah.
in any case, this has become so much more interesting, and I have to say, no matter what you think, the fact that this happened in the middleweight division. It's made the middleweight division infinitely more interesting.
A lot more interesting.
I am actually genuinely curious, though, what you guys have to say. Please let us know in the comments, genuinely. Like, what do you think should happen? What do you think will happen? Just like we just discussed.
All that.
I'm very, very curious to hear. And I'm open to discussion. You know? Like, we will fucking see. I don't think the UFC wants Sean Strickland to be the champion. Like, he's out of his mind.
Yeah.
But... I'm very interested and I'm very curious and my eyes are goddamn peeled. So
I'm excited to see what happens. I think it will be that Izzy fight. I'm down for it.
I'm really down for any of them. I
down.
just think Adesanya, like, it's time to let it breathe a little. I want to see him fight somebody else, you know.
Fine, yeah.
And I want to see somebody else compete. Like,
and Sean Strickland can be beat. Anyways, that's another topic for another day. We'll talk about Sean Strickland when he does get a fight booked.
I think I would pick anybody besides Cannonier in that group to beat him, personally.
Interesting. Even though Cannonier is the one that just beat him.
Yeah.
But guys, he's DS. I'm Dino Bam Bam. If you enjoyed, leave a little, click the little thumbs up.
Yeah.
Ring the little bell. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram. All of that. He's DS. I'm DBB. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.